Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be going over more about aftercare. Now, I talked about aftercare quite a while ago on my video. It's probably been almost a year now. It's one of my most watched videos on my channel, and that is how to make an aftercare kit. Links down below if you haven't seen it before, but since then I've had a lot more experience in the scene, and I kind of want to do some more advanced videos about aftercare. Think about this like Aftercare 202, if that's like the 101 class. There's a lot of topics that are really important to talk about with aftercare that aren't necessarily covered or mentioned that I think everybody should know and should be able to add to their toolkit. I'll be doing a video as well about dominance and top drop and how to provide aftercare for doms. Links down below when that is available to watch. But today I'm going to be talking about self-care and Precare. Now, Precare is a concept that I've run into one or two times before, but it's not really something I've ever seen talked about in depth or something that is sort of widely acknowledged as something you can do as an alternative to aftercare. Now, aftercare and Precare are really meant to do the same things. They're meant to mitigate the effects of subdrop or top drop. Links down below if you do not know what I mean when I talk about subdrop and top drop. I have an entire video talking about just that very subject. But there are going to be times and there are going to be scenes and people where having aftercare is not really the best idea, or it might not go with the scene, or you just happen to have very different aftercare needs. So for example, you could be doing a scene with somebody that is meant to be a kidnapping scene, an abduction scene, something that has a lot of role play elements to it that is, again, very subversive. It has a lot of elements to it that maybe just your standard pick-up play flogging, your standard, shibari or rope scene may not have. And it can be very difficult in that kind of headspace to be able to properly provide aftercare, especially if this is the kind of scene that could take an entire day or take several hours. You want to make sure that you have something in place, even if you may not be able to provide aftercare. As an alternative to that, there is Precare. It's basically the same thing as aftercare in function. Basically, what you do is do all of your normal standard aftercare stuff that you like, be that cuddling together, taking a shower together, taking a nap together, talking about the scene. Of course, the way you talk about the scene is going to be different during Precare than aftercare because the scene actually hasn't happened yet, but it can be a very good way to be relaxed by the upcoming scene if you are able to re-communicate to your partner what actually is going to happen and what you are anticipating feeling and doing during that scene. In addition to being useful during scenes that are really emotionally intense or that take a very long time, it can also be very helpful if you are in a time crunch. So let's say you are at a dungeon for the evening and you got the last slot on the list for being able to use that St. Andrew's cross, and you are so excited about being able to use that cross, but it's the last hour. You're not really sure if you're going to have enough time after the scene actually ends to be able to give somebody aftercare before you actually have to leave and go home. So in that situation, I recommend taking 10 to 20 minutes to cuddle, come together, do whatever you need to do for aftercare. Make sure that's part of the negotiations, of course. Make sure you have that time to kind of relax together before you actually go through the scene. That way, if it turns out you run out of time before you have to actually get out of the building, you at least have some kind of physical connection with that person that can help mitigate the effects of drop if it does actually end up having to occur. Now, there can also be situations that I've talked about before in some of my videos where the sub and the dom, or the top and the bottom, have very different aftercare needs. It could be that somebody is very touchy-feely and somebody's not. It could be that somebody goes very nonverbal after a scene and somebody needs a lot of emotional recognition, a lot of talking after a scene. There could be all kinds of mismatch between partners, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they shouldn't play together, but it does make providing good aftercare to both parties very difficult. Usually I've talked about a sense Usually, I've suggested that people arrange for somebody else to provide aftercare, be that a friend, another sub, another dom that you know well, and really anybody. I know if I were to go to a party and my dom, for whatever reason, couldn't meet my aftercare needs, I would be able to ask probably at least 3 other people, being like, hey, can you just sit with me and let me rest my head on your shoulders after the scene is done, because he has other things to do or we have different needs or whatever. But I know not everybody's going to be in that position. A lot of times where people aren't involved in the public scene and so they don't really have a lot of connections that they can rely on for things like aftercare, education, or whatever it is. There are also times you're just going to be playing privately at home, and in that case you're really probably not going to want to call somebody over just to cuddle you for 15 minutes. Of course, I think that's a great idea. You should totally do it, but I know that for some people that would be a little bit weird. But there is an alternative for that, and that alternative is self-care. A lot of times we're familiar with the term self-care when it comes to mental health, but it definitely applies to BDSM as well. Self-care, at least in my mind, because it lacks that very personal physical connection that a lot of people really need after a scene, isn't necessarily going to be as effective as something like Precare or Aftercare with another person, but it is better than nothing, and so I would highly, highly recommend it if it's your only alternative. This is going to be things that are really about your physical and emotional well-being. It does sort of expect that you have a very good sense of self and you know what you actually need for aftercare. So if you're not really sure about this, I definitely wouldn't recommend it as like your first option, but it is, again, something that can be done. In general, if you don't know what to do things that are just relaxing, be that watching your favorite TV show, your favorite movie, having your favorite food, making sure that you're staying well hydrated, making sure you eat things that are going to increase or decrease your hormone levels appropriately. This could be things like dried fruit, juice, chocolate, anything that is somewhat relaxing and comforting to you, making sure that you're warm, be that, sitting next to a fireplace, having a blanket wrap around you, taking a nap if you need it. I am 100% about taking naps. They're my favorite thing in the whole world. So highly, highly recommend taking naps, especially if you're doing a very physically intense scene. Making sure you're doing things that are very like self-soothing. You can actually hug yourself. Something that I recommend that I've learned is like crossing your arms over yourself like this if you can, and then like patting yourself on the back. It seems really stupid and silly, I know, but it does actually help because it kind of simulates to your body the same thing as like somebody giving you a close hug. And again, if you are alone, it's definitely better than nothing. I would also recommend things like reading a book, lighting incense or a candle, doing some kind of aromatherapy. You can also do things like give yourself a leg massage, taking yourself to go get your nails done, whatever it is, do something that's relaxing, something that treats yourself, something that helps. Again, we're trying to decrease the effect of subdrop here, and the best way to do that is to relax. So just do whatever that is for you. Be that getting a foot massage, be that taking a nap, whatever it is, perfectly okay. Again, also make sure that your physical needs are taken care of, so don't forget about those as well. I already talked about them, making sure you're staying hydrated, making sure you're getting enough food and water, making sure you're getting sleep. Even if you are in a situation where you have to give yourself self-care, do also check in with the dom or the top after the scene is actually over. Contact them on the phone, text them, contact them on FetLife, whatever it is. Even if you're in a situation where you can't get aftercare, make sure you do talk about the scene if it's possible for you. But that is really everything you need to know. If you guys have any questions about self-care or pre-care, please leave that down in the comments below, as well as any questions or video suggestions that you might have. I am always happy to hear. I will leave links down below to some related videos if you want to see more in my series about aftercare and all of that stuff. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help. If you want to support this channel, please consider donating to my Patreon. Links down below as well to all of my social media. And until I see you next time, hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.